go. Maxie, you were wondering if cheetah are difficult to find. Excuse me. Sorry, Maxie. Yes, they can be. They can be very difficult to find, and in fact there have been times in my life where I have searched and searched, often for days, to find the cheetah out here. Sometimes we get lucky though, and we get a little bit of inside information, which is actually how I found these cheetah. During the day, if you're driving around, they might be out or sitting on a termite mound or something like that, trying to get a nice high view, and in that case, then it's quite easy to spot them. But, like the leopard, they've got those spotted coats, so when they go into the shady areas or the darker areas or the thicker areas, then it's really, really hard to spot them. They can disappear into long grass so quickly. Now, out here in the Mara, it rains a lot, so we can't even really follow their footprints because they don't show up. They don't show up in the mud, the ground gets hard quickly, and then they're impossible to follow. So sometimes it's actually guesswork, and that's why we like spending so much time with animals, because the more you get to know them, the better it is, or the easier it is to try and guess where they're going to go. So if I knew Malika really well, perhaps I'd say, okay, she's going to go next to maybe to the one tree that's at the top of this hill, and I've followed her around here before at night, so I know she's not going to want to go down to the river because there's probably lions around there. So I have to guess at where she's going to go, and so when I leave her I can try and find her again. Difficult. It's a guessing game, but the better you know the animals, the better you can guess. James, funnily enough, I was actually talking about this not so long ago. Yes, I have touched a cheetah. I've been involved in a couple of surgeries on a cheetah, one to remove a snare, one that was to fit two actually, that were to fit a tracking device. So what I mean when I say snare is a type of horrible device that is put up by human beings to catch, usually to catch an antelope to eat. But unfortunately the snare, which is a piece of metal that tightens, doesn't discriminate between an antelope. So it will catch a cheetah just as quickly as it will catch an antelope. So I have been fortunate enough to touch a cheetah. They're amazing animals. The cheetah that I have touched were anesthetized, so they were very much asleep. I've also been involved in the capture and relocation of a few cheetah off farms where the farmer was insistent that they were hunting his farm animals. So we caught and we released them back into the wild. It's difficult with cheetah though because they don't stay put. They like to go back. They like to wander around huge areas. So their fur is very coarse. Their tails are very heavy. What else can I tell you about what a cheetah feels like? I've mentioned this earlier, but their muscles are quite soft. You'd expect them to be really, really hard, like an athlete's, but they're actually quite soft and squishy. Their paws feel like dog's paws, even though they're not like dog paws. They are very much cats. Their claws are only semi-retractable, so they can only draw their claws back a little bit. Okay, let us wait with the world's fastest land mammal and send you across to Rolf, who apparently is trying to drive not quite as fast as a cheetah.
Thanks, Jamie, and thank you to Wang Middle School for sending in your favorite animals, being monkeys and turtles. Well, I must say as well, Wang Middle School, that I also like both of those animals very much. I've been on the beach a few times in the area of the northern parts of South Africa and into Mozambique, where we get nesting turtles, and they come onto the beach when it's full moon, and they push themselves up to the dunes, which is quite far away from the water. Then they dig their holes and they lay their eggs in there, and they close the hole up, and then they go back towards the water, and into the water they go. And then after quite a long time. You do get those little babies hatching out of those nests, and then they all come out and make their way towards the water. Now, we also get lots of monkeys around here, but in South Africa, it's particularly the vervet monkey is the most common monkey that we get. Is a little bit of a blue color, and they are very nice to watch. They're very much like humans. And do you know that everything that a vervet monkey eats, us as humans, we can also eat? So if you watch a monkey and whatever he eats in the bush, it's quite nice to notice, because if he's eating some fruit or if he's eating some mushrooms, well, then you know that we can eat it as well. But don't eat what baboons are eating, because they have very strong stomachs, and they can eat things that will make us very sick. So just be careful. But nice to know that if you watch the monkeys, we can see what they eat, and we can eat that as well. Now I'm starting to get a little bit closer to where the leopard is, but I just want to say thank you all to the children that are watching us at Wang Middle School Elementary, and thanks very much for joining us, and I hope you join us again for another Safari Live Safari. And while we continue on and head towards our leopard, let's head you on over to Jamie with her cheetah.
I have a terrible choice. It's one of those things. Brent is still not yet returned from his extraordinary adventures, which means, because he was always going to spend, if the 5 boys were around, he was going to spend the evening with them, and I was always going to spend the evening with Malika if I could find her, which I have now done. But she's now a kilometre away, no less than, from the 5 boys. So how on earth am I meant to decide which cheetah to spend the night with? And wake up tomorrow morning with, hopefully? I'm inclined to stick with Malika. I've thought about it. I've even had somebody offer to actually stay with her while I go and check up on the 5 boys. Unfortunately, the other factor that's making my decision for me is the fact that they are where our signal will be probably very shaky. So I think a cheetah in the hand is worth 5 in the 3, you know, a bird in the hand and 2 in the bush and all of that, except with cheetah, and 3 and 5. I think this is what they are going to do, though, for the rest of the afternoon and evening. They are going to sleep the night away. Who knows? You know, we could actually spend the night with them and end up finding the 5 boys independently. Or they might find us. That would be interesting. I'm almost uncomfortable with the two youngsters at this age now, being anywhere in the vicinity of the 5 musketeers or the 5 boys. It would be interesting to see how a scenario like that played out. I think I'm going to spend as much time with these boys as I possibly can, because they're just so sweet at the moment, with their silly little mantles, fluffy bits that run down the backs of their necks. And there you can see a flay ink flower in the background. An interesting area, this. It's full of crotons. It's very rocky. Actually, that's not a bad reason to stay here either. If it decides to storm overnight, at least we know we're in on a rocky crest. I think that just made my decision for me. Looking at those clouds in the background, we still run the risk of being stormed on. Lisa, you say go with my gut. This is my gut instinct, is to stay with Malika. I think it's the right decision, I think. The 5 boys, I mean, they are going to... Malika's not going to hunt again today. I mean, I shouldn't be saying that. I should be saying they could get up at any moment, but they won't. They're sleepy, and they've got very full bellies. So they're going to sleep the night away, and then tomorrow morning, with their fast-acting metabolisms, tomorrow morning they're going to get up and start moving. That, I think, is the best bet. I'm surprised the boys are here. They haven't been here on the northern side of the Talek River for weeks, months actually. Since our migration series, I don't think they've been this side. My goodness gracious me, I know that our tech team have been busy battling off the gremlins when it comes to the South African crew. Let's try and head across there so that poor Noel, who's been out for ages, can actually finally say hello.
Hello everyone! Alright, I've been spending the past hour looking for Madame Tundi. For those of you who don't know Madame Tundi is, she's one of our resident leopards, and I have not been able to find her yet, sadly, but I'm going to keep trying. My name is Noelle, and I'm driving around here in the Sabi Sands, South Africa, and on camera I have Gert. Hello, Gert. He's saying hello. Alright. Then, because I've spent the past hour looking for Tundi in areas that I'm very surprised I was managed to get this vehicle, as well as some other more open areas, I'm now going to try a little bit with the Nguhumas, pride of lions that we had this morning just down the road here. We've passed by here a couple of times because Tundi was seen walking, and then she went south again, and then she went east again, and then she went north, and then who knows. So she avoided the lions, thank goodness. As we all know, we don't want her and her tiny little cub to run into those lions. That would not be good. Those lions would have a field day chasing after the two of them, and that would give everyone heart attacks. So, because of where we left the lions this morning, it was shady but not so shady, I'm actually thinking that they've just gone a little bit farther in. So we're going to go to where we had them and then drive a little bit farther in. It wasn't extremely hot today, but it did get very humid, and it rained everywhere but us. It rained north of us, it rained east of us, and it rained a little bit south of us. So I'm hoping the clouds come together again and rain on us. Ooh, we've got hornbills. There's two yellow-billed hornbills just on the right here. Please don't fly away. There we go, coming in. Here we are, a pair. They tend to mate for life. And this is the time of year where you'll see the pairs going off and finding food for their fledglings, their youngsters that have just hatched. That looks like the male there. Lots of red around the face, and then he flies off, and then there's the mate underneath. So they'll look for scorpions and millipedes and grasshoppers and fruits and termites and the special termites, the winged alights that fly out after the rains, which haven't come. They're hopping up on the Cumbritum just, oh, you've already got it. He was reading my mind. That's actually quite a beautiful shot. I love when the light shines through their beak like that. Let's see if we can hear them. Hold on. I hope you could hear those little tuk 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 tuk. That was them calling to each other and talking with each other. Oh, sorry, I believe it was a little bit too windy, but that's okay. I can tuk 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 for you. That's what they sound like if humans were to do hornbill. Alright, now whilst I'm trying to find either these Nguhumas or Madame Tundi, let's head on over to Scott, who's on walkabout with Herbie, and see what they found for us.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Bushwalk. My name's Scott and I'm teamed up with Herbie, who is going to help us with a little bit of security as well as, more importantly, his expert tracking skills. And we are busy on the trail of Hosanna, a young male leopard who was seen about half a mile behind us this morning, and Herbie's miraculously been following his tracks through this kind of mildly open area. The most recent track is just this little patch in the sand here. There's not a whole lot to see, but there is the back pad of the leopard. Now, I alone would never have been able to work this one out, so it's, like I said, being teamed up with Herbie that really helps to work out what these tracks are. And as you could see, there wasn't much to see there. It's only the skills of a wizard that can follow the trail of a leopard through an area like this. So we're taking our time. We don't want to rush anything. We're just slowly creeping along here. And I'm trying where I can to help Herbie find any tracks, but it really is tricky going here. So we're feeling confident that we are going to find him. He was right on our southern boundary, so we were quite concerned that he may have crossed out of our area of traverse, but thankfully he's heading deeper into Djuma. And I'm told there was a herd of impala in this area this morning, so there's a strong likelihood that he headed here to try and catch one. And who knows, maybe he got lucky. Wouldn't it be epic if we come across him with a freshly made kill? So exciting stuff, but it is going to be slow and meticulous going here until we hopefully find him. What's made it a little bit tricky is that last night we got a tiny bit of rain, and once the rain falls for a short period of time, the earth becomes slightly softened by it, but as soon as it hardens up, being baked by the sun, then of course it's the complete opposite of that. It becomes almost like cement. So we're dealing with quite hard ground, but looking forward to the challenge. JR, you'd like to know if I checked up on the black mamba kill from yesterday afternoon. And yes, myself and Dave took a casual stroll this morning in the hope that we could find you guys anything interesting. And we did pop into the area where that dead scrub hare was, and it was a completely unchanged scenario. So the scrub hare was still lying there just as we left it yesterday evening. Maybe a hyena will catch wind of it this evening, or who knows, maybe that slender mongoose would have made its way back onto the scene, but the kill was still there. So again, an interesting kind of reality of nature is as good as a lot of the animal senses are. If the weather conditions and the variables are not in the animal's favor, there's a strong chance that they're not going to be able to detect the kill, because like I said yesterday, if the wind is just blowing in the wrong direction, even if an animal moves a meter or two past that kill, if the wind's not blowing towards it, it'll have no idea that it's there. Well, very good. As we continue to search for a leopard here down in South Africa, hopefully with a kill, we're going to send you back up to Rolf, who's already got a confirmed sighting of just that.
Yes, well, we've got a confirmed sighting of what the leopard killed, which was a little baby giraffe. And there is still a lot of meat on this little guy that is now being dragged even higher up the tree. You can just see him there on the top left-hand part of your screen. The head has also been opened up now, but there's still a lot of meat remaining on this little baby giraffe. So we've just come back here to sit and wait and see if this leopard now shows himself. It doesn't look like he's in the tree. I've really been straining my eyes to see him between the leaves. Now, Mr. Q, you want to know if it's uncommon for a leopard to kill a giraffe? Well, as far as I'm concerned, yes, Mr. Q. It is rather a large prey for a leopard, but this is rather a large male leopard. So I think there was a couple of other guides that had seen another leopard a while ago, I'm not sure how long ago, that also had a baby giraffe. So who knows, maybe this leopard is actually specializing in baby giraffe. There's a lot of them, so there's a great possibility that this particular male leopard has taken a liking to baby giraffe. It probably sustains him for a long period of time, and it's not that risky. It's probably easy to kill as well, and so I think the most difficult part about the entire saga would be getting it up the tree. But as I've said, this is a very big male, and he's quite impressive in terms of how, his muscles and his body. So I think for him, this is probably a very good way to go. And I'm very interested to see him come back, because as I say, there's so much meat left there, I'm sure he will. Now, Max, you want to know if I think if the giraffe mothers mourn their baby. Well, definitely for at least a day, because she was walking around behind those trees looking at her baby in the tree for the entire day, it seemed like yesterday. So if it's mourning or what it is, I'm not quite sure about the emotional part of things, but she definitely hung around for such a long period of time that it did seem that there was some kind of mourning involved, but she was also probably trying to see if at any way she would be able to try and assist her baby or get it back. But I think maybe it took that amount of time to get the realization that the baby was dead, it was gone, and she needed to move on. So she's gone now, so the realization has obviously hit home, and I think she's then continued about her daily business. But for now, very quiet here, and as I say, we just need to play the patience game, and maybe we'll be lucky and see him climb back up that tree and start feeding on the giraffe. So we're going to stay here, but while we do that, let's head you on back to Jamie with her spotted cats.
I cannot believe that is the second giraffe kill that we've had in a tree. Adrian, when did you come for your interview? November. So in the last 2 months we've had 2 giraffe kills in trees. How incredible is that? Do you know how unusual that is to see? It's quite a special thing, and I absolutely agree with Ralph. Playing the patience game is the way to go, which is of course what we're going to be doing with Malika and her boys. Oh, is it the same male as had the giraffe kill before? Because that's quite extraordinary. Very, really interesting. I wonder if I don't know. Just wondering if they specialize more in it, or if he specializes in catching giraffe calves. What do you think? I'm talking to the cheetah, of course. Although feel free to share your opinions on #SafariLive on Twitter if you would like. We would, of course, be very interested to hear them. Though, although I've said that I don't think that they're going to get up before the end of the safari, I still think there's the possibility of them hunting again this evening. Generally, when I've been with Malika at this time of day, they've got up at around about 6:45, and they've started wandering about. That is, of course, Eastern African time. So I wonder if that's not what they're going to do. She, so far, has decided to head in the right direction. We'll just have to keep encouraging her to continue to do so. I do think she's going to try and keep her boys away from the 5 boys if she knows they're there. Now, read one. You want to know if leopards share their territories with lions. A territory is something that is defended only by one species against members of the same species. Okay, does that make sense? So lions are territorial to other lions, and leopards are territorial to other leopards. You don't have a leopard territory that is separate to a lion territory. The territories will overlap. So a territory thing is entirely species-based. A leopard is not going to fight a lion, and a lion is not going to fight a leopard because they're in each other's territory. They're in each other's space, and it's competition for the same resources. So yes, leopards and lions share the same territories. Cheetah share the same territories. If you could picture a map of a place, and then imagine all of the lion territories in different shades of blue, and then put all of the leopard territories on top of that in different shades of red. They're completely different. They don't have the same boundaries. They don't look the same. They're all in the same area. And then you chuck on the cheetah territories in different shades of green for the different individuals, and you'd get a very interesting mix of colors, I guess. I don't quite know how to describe what I'm trying to say to you, or to describe to you. So leopards will move about in the same area as lions or cheetah, and as we've discussed, predators will kill other predators, but it's not a territorial thing. It's a competition thing. And most of the time, animals have territories for 2 reasons, really. The main reason is for reproductive purposes, mating rights, having sole access to the females in that area. The second one would be for resources as well. And there is a slight difference in terms of the prey species that the different cats will go for. Yes, of course, they're opportunistic hunters, so there's an overlap, but generally cheetah will go for smaller prey and lions will go for larger prey, and unless it's that male leopard who likes to catch giraffe calves, leopards fall somewhere in the middle. That's a massive generalization, but there is there's a difference in the type of food that they go for. Malika is not bound by any rules in the time that I've spent with her. I have seen her go for adult zebra. Not unsuccessfully, but the first time I ever saw her, she was chasing an adult zebra. It was back in the days of right at the beginning of our Mara explorations, when we still were filming out of Chiku, the closed vehicle. These 3 vehicles hadn't even arrived yet. And we trundled about in Chiku. And I remember being deeply frustrated because I was trying to, Brent was in the middle of a story that he was telling us as we drove full tilt down a road. And I was trying to say to him, those zebra are behaving weirdly. Stop, the zebra are And anyway, then all chaos broke loose and Malika came dashing past with her 2 boys, much smaller than they are now. I hate to say I told you so, but sometimes it's called for. And sometimes I love saying I told you so. It just depends upon the moment. Right, so we've got our spotted cheetah and the wait for the spotted leopard. I've got to say, stop saying the word spotted. Let's go and join Scott, who is looking for our little chief.
Yes, we're still searching for His Honor, but the last little faint sign that I showed you of him was the last track that we had. So we're kind of just slowly looping around this area. I'm checking easy spots like this termite mound. It's also a favorite spot of the leopards to lie up, get a good vantage point while they try and sneak up on their prey. So we're kind of just taking our time here rather than beelining off. But no further updates as of yet, sadly. I'm hoping Jamie's predictions about Malika and her 2 boys are in fact correct and that they do get active a little bit later. It's been quite a while since I think we've actually seen cheetah in full flight, so I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward to that. Not sure when the last action we captured with them was, so hopefully it'll be this evening. Now, temporarily lost track of Herbie, and I'm back with him now. He obviously just went back to that last track, and that's an important thing to remember whilst tracking. It's tempting to always try to push forward and keep moving, but if you're not actually on the trail, it's sometimes useful just to go back to the last set of tracks, slow down, get on your hands and knees, and hope that you actually work out which direction it's headed in. But Herbie's looking like he's got something up ahead there, so I'm going to go and catch up with him for a quick update, and we're going to send you back up to the Masai Mara with Taylor and some jackal.
Not a jackal, it's not a jackal. We've got 6 bat-eared foxes. Can you believe it? 6 of them. So it must be the adults with the youngsters. Look at them go. That's the most I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, of course, they're not very happy with us. They started bolting ages ago, and they've just kept running and running, putting distance between us and them. And this is normal though. Very sadly for us, is there's such skittish creatures. But it's still so cool to see so many together. That's amazing. Hopefully they'll see more and more people. You can see that Tommies are not bothered by them at all, not even looking at them. That was amazing. That was one of the coolest things. It was very short and sweet, but it was so epic, especially to see them with all the buffalo and things. You can see the Thompson's gazelle now also wondering, what on earth, why are those bat-eared foxes running? Who are they running from? That thing, that green machine with the weird smelling creatures inside them that make a lot of noise. I think that's what they were wondering. I wonder where they're denning, although those kits look rather large now. I don't know if they'd be staying inside a den. They'd probably just be wandering outside. Oh, very cool though. It's a pity the grass is so long, but it's really lovely out here. I don't know why we have had so many gremlins attacking us today. It's being a bit cheeky, I think. But it is so stunning. There's a massive herd of buffalo as well. You may have seen them. Now, UK expat, you say that the bat-eared foxes were a first for you. Wow, congratulations. To see so many of them too. Short and sweet sighting is typically what they are. I've been very lucky though. I've had some unbelievable bat-eared fox sightings. My favorite one has to be that afternoon that we spotted one just as sort of sun had set. And it was drinking from a puddle in the road. Remember how relaxed it was? Maybe somebody can share a screenshot for UK expat of that afternoon. We were on the main river circuit, if I'm not mistaken, quite close to Serena. It was pretty spectacular. But how's that gorgeous view? There's some cattle egrets all flying off for the evening. I'm sure looking for a spot to roost. Isn't that gorgeous? It is so peaceful down on the border. We have not seen one other vehicle for maybe 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. Have not seen another car. Everyone would have had to have started heading home from the border, back to their lodges. That was spectacular though, to see so many. I can't believe it. We'll have to come and check here again. Be really nice to have another look at them. We'll see if we end up down here. I don't know if I could risk coming back down this way though. The gremlins are too nasty. Some more cattle egrets. There are lots and lots of them. Now they won't stay with the buffalo all night. Like we said, they're going to go off and look for a spot to roost. Kind of like all the bird species. Even the oxpeckers go home. The wattled starlings. And just as all the birds set off to find their perch, you start to hear all the frogs and things chirping. I can hear lots of crickets as well and other insects. There's definitely some bubbling casinas around. Those are types of frogs. Ones we have not been able to show you just yet because they're so elusive. So elusive. And the Olololo escarpment. Just, of course, in the distance. That's what you've been seeing. Thompson's gazelle, no cheetah around? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for cheetah or listening out for lions. But we've heard or seen neither. So we shall keep searching. Hey, Manu? Yeah. Not having much luck here. Besides those bat-eared foxes, which was... Hang on. Wait, what is that? That is a Logosaurus. I thought there was basically there was a dead log behind us and it looked like ears. So what I am going to do though is I'm going to send you down to the northeastern corner of South Africa where Noel is desperately trying to track down where Tundi has gone.
Oh, alright, so the lions didn't move farther in like I was hoping, but I did find something that I wanted to talk about. This is a balloon, and it's obviously been stuck in the bush for quite some time. It looks like it was a big yellow balloon, possibly an S. Maybe, Scott, maybe this was your balloon? No, I highly doubt it. So, I have a thing with balloons. I hate balloons, and this is why I hate balloons. When you have a big S like this, maybe for surprise, and then you let it go, it ends up somewhere. And this ended up in the middle of our wilderness area. And sometimes things will eat this. So and they don't biodegrade very well, these Mylar balloons. So I have a feeling it's been sitting out there for quite a while. I haven't been off-roading in that part for maybe a month, so it's been there for probably longer than a month. So this and straws, plastic straws, both get me a little bit annoyed. So yeah, no balloons, no plastic straws. They stay everywhere for a very long time. I'm so annoyed that I found this thing in the bush. But now we have it, we can throw it away. Although where that goes, that's another whole other story, but at least it's not out and about where the wildlife is. So I've decided that we're going to leave that area where Tundi was last seen and the Nkuhumas were last seen because something happened during the day there that's made everything sort of push off. So I'm going to let it cool down a little bit more. And I'm going to carry on down towards Twin Dams, see if I can help Scott out with Hasana, and see if maybe we pick up on some elephants, or maybe, ooh, those cheetah. I wish those cheetah, so those cheetah that are just east of us, they haven't quite come west yet. They've gone a little bit more north, but crossing fingers, holding thumbs, those 4 cheetah might pop over. That would be absolutely fantastic. Now don't forget everybody, we are live and interactive, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat, and we love to hear your questions and your comments, so please send them through. We're starting rehearsals tomorrow, which is very exciting because that means that our TV show is coming up on the 4th of Feb, 10 o'clock Eastern, live on Nat Geo Wild. Ooh, James is also just driving around, so I think let's head over to him and see if he has any pearls of wisdom he would like to share with us today.
Pearls of wisdom flow from me as they flow from oysters. They don't really flow from oysters, do they? They more sort of are pried loose from very few of them. Yes? Food poisoning flows from oysters. Yes, that's probably about the same effect that my wisdom will have on you. You should definitely ignore everything I say. We're heading down towards Chitwa Dam. This, of course, is my first segment this evening that is longer than 1 second, which is excellent. Every other time I've made an attempt, unfortunately, we've had to crash cut away. I do apologize for all of that. I'm assuming the children have left us, and I hope they had a good safari. Yes, so that is me, James. Hello. Please do talk to us using the hashtag Safari Live. I have to remind you of that, please. Well, I suppose this might be a neat inclusion in your question. Do you see that thing over there? Patty, you say, are there any road signs? Do we have to learn all of the roads? And the answer, Patty, is yes, we do have to learn all of the roads. There aren't any road signs, but you know, you'd be surprised. This looks like a lunar moth cocoon, everybody. And I will tie this into your question, Patty. You'd be surprised how quickly you learn these roads because we drive them all the time. And if you come here for the first time, they all look exactly the same. But after a week or two, they start to look familiar. And on the area that we're on, really 2 weeks and you pretty much know where you are. This kind of thing, in a bigger area especially, would be something that you'd remember and you'd use as a street sign, and you'd use it as a reference, in fact, for other people. So you'd say, you know that junction there, next in between the two knobthorn trees, there's that lunar moth cocoon. And somebody would say, oh yes, I've seen that before, because they too have been driving around a long time. And you'd say, well, the leopard is just inside there. So that's basically why we stopped there. Very beautiful kind of silver and gold threads there when the sun comes out on that cocoon. A lunar moth, for those of you who don't know, I wonder if I won't be able to find a picture. I might be able to find a picture of it quickly. A lunar moth is a beautiful line, long tail streamers. Let me see if I can find them in my book here. I might be very lucky. There he is. Are you ready, Fergus? Don't be afraid. Come to the book. There is the lunar moth, and it is a member of the family Saturnidae, which is a lovely name. That is the emperor moths, which include, of course, the Mapani moths, which start their lives off as an edible caterpillar. Well, edible to some. Isn't that magnificent? And that is about 1/4 the size of the actual moth. The moth is probably about that big. Isn't that amazing? I think that's very wonderful. Apparently we are now going to go across to Ralph, who has found, and this is no mean feat, in the Masai Mara, a leopard.
Thanks, James. A leopard has returned, everybody. So our patience has paid off, and there you can just see not the best visuals of him, but he's just moved the giraffe again, and he's been feeding on it. So we guessed right that he was going to come back when it had cooled down a little bit. And while we were waiting, we were just chatting and talking to each other, because it was just the giraffe's legs sticking out. And all of a sudden, Craig said, "Whoa, there he is!" And he was already up by the giraffe. But it was obvious that he had just jumped up in the couple of seconds that we were looking away. So he's in there, and he started to feed on it again. A wonderful, wonderful sighting here in the Masai Mara. I don't think that this is a regular occurrence. Oh, there was a piece that was dropped just now as well. Looked like it might have been the tail or a piece of the front legs. But that looks like the back legs there. There's the head, just poking through now. So the leopard has been moving it around a little bit now. I think he's just trying to get it into a better position where he can feed on it a little bit easier while he's in the tree. It's not the best of trees for him to be able to lie comfortably and eat at the same time. So I think he's also finding it a little bit uncomfortable. There we go. Now we can see him nice and clearly grabbing the giraffe. He's eaten actually quite a lot of it today. Yesterday there wasn't that much being eaten. But he's got it up nice and high in the tree. And I wonder if this guy is a specialist baby giraffe hunter. He's big enough for it. And it must take a lot of strength to be able to pull that entire animal up there. It is quite incredible. Well, you see, if you put yourself out there for long enough and you're patient and you just keep trying and you persist, well, you find lovely sightings like this. Eddie, you want to know what cologne I wear because you need to have my luck. Eddie, well, I don't normally wear any cologne, so there you go. Yeah, so maybe don't use any. That might just help you out. But I think that it's all down to persistence and patience. It's like fishing. You need to, if you don't have a line in the water, you're not going to get any bites. So you need to keep putting yourself out there, persistent in your methods, and believe in your method, and eventually, with a bit of patience, you get lucky. So that's the way it goes. Right, we're going to stay here and keep watching, and in the meantime, I'm going to send you on south to South Africa to James. I'm sure he's got something exciting to show you.
There we have some carmine bee-eaters, everybody. Now, I believe that Noel saw some carmine bee-eaters a few days ago and has not seen any since. I think these are my first ones of the season here. They normally arrive a little bit earlier than this, I would have thought, sitting in amongst the marula fruits there. And the one on, or closest to us, is a bit drab, and that's a youngster. And the one behind, either his mother or father or older sibling, or just a friend, in fact, but most likely mother or father. Aren't they glorious colours? I know you can't really see them, the light is not ideal, but they are the most wonderful, unsurprisingly, carmine colour, which is that sort of reddish pink. And they've got blue on their eyes. Focus now, they look like fork-tailed drongos. Aha, aha. There we are. So please excuse the blasting of the background, but that's the only way for us to get this nice colour. Oh, Paula, you say, do I have a favourite type of bee-eater? I tell you, I probably do. My favourite type of bee-eater would be the European bee-eater, because they're heralds of summer. And when I used to live in Johannesburg, I often tell stories about birds in Johannesburg and how they used to make me remember times in the wilderness. I used to live in Johannesburg, which of course is a very large city, and like most cities, is a little bit bereft of wilderness. But there's a river there called the Braamfonteinspruit, which you wouldn't want to put your foot in because it would probably melt off. But on the Braamfonteinspruit, there are a couple of parks, and the European bee-eaters, as summer began, used to fly over there, and when I was going for a walk in the evenings, or a run, or kicking my rugby ball around, I'd hear them flying over and know that summer had arrived, and that the end of the Johannesburg winter was nigh. And so I always remember that, and I enjoy the European bee-eater because of it. They're also, of course, magnificent-looking birds, and there are quite a few of them around at the moment. I think also, I used to, when I've been overseas, when I've been lucky enough to go and spend a little bit of time in Europe in the summertime, so I've seen them there in France, I think, and in Italy, and also, where else? No, I don't think I saw them in Greece, but certainly in Italy and France, the European bee-eaters I have found, and it was kind of a of the world to itself, if you like. Okay, from that rather sort of philosophical discussion, let's just go across to something slightly more action-packed.
So what I thought at first was that they were hunting, but they're not. They're actually running away from a hyena. I heard birds alarm calling a little bit earlier, so I thought maybe they were heading in that direction. But they're not. They're dodging a hyena that is now over there, all the way in the distance over there. So I had a bit of a panic for a second. I thought we were about to miss them. But in fact, it's just a hyena that's actually not even all that bothered about chasing these cheetah. We've seen cheetah stand up to hyena before. When the hyena does get too close, then the cheetah will immediately charge it and try and fight back. Unfortunately, as we've spoken about, in terms of their position on the predator hierarchy, the cheetah falls quite far down, quite close to the bottom of the ladder when it comes to big predators. And the reason that they're disappearing like they are, so let's head back as they slowly move off. The reason that they're slinking like they are is not so much that they feel afraid or threatened by the hyena, but the last thing they want is to be trailed by a scavenger. No, they know now, if the hyena sees them and follows them, then any meal that they catch is going to be a waste of time, because the hyena is going to call in support and come and steal it from them. So they're not afraid of the hyena, but they want to move away from it so that it doesn't see them and doesn't harass them all night. And that's the reason for the change in body behavior, body language. Okay, let us catch up with our Malika and her boys. See where they go. I think the hyena is going to go and look for any scraps around where they were feeding a little bit earlier. So we're going to keep up with our cheetah, something that's quite easy until they start to run. Let's go and see whether Ralph has managed to get a good view of his leopard and the giraffe meal.
Thanks, Jamie. And yes, we've just changed position a little bit, everyone. Repositioned, and we've got a slightly better view here through the brush. In the top of that tree there, you can see the leopard is now feeding quite nicely on that giraffe, and at least we're getting a slightly better view. It's not ideal, but you know what? It's probably very good that we're not allowed to drive off-road here, because I can see what would happen if we were. There would be a lot of vehicles pushing in underneath this leopard, and I'm sure that he would disappear quite quickly. Now, Ghost Chooser, you want to know how long will that giraffe sustain this leopard? He could probably feed on that for the next 3 or even 4 days, and then that could continue for the next 4 or 5 days, that he wouldn't have to eat, even up to until a week. So this is really a very good prey for him to take down, and worth the risk. Although I don't think there's too much of a risk for him being a leopard and this young giraffe. The biggest threat would probably be the adult kicking it. But I think in the hours of darkness, the giraffe would probably be quite disorientated and not really know what's going on. And the leopard would be the silent hunter in the night, in the darkness. And probably that little baby died very fast, and was probably dragged through the thickets and up that tree in a very quick or very short space of time. So this has been absolutely fantastic, everybody. I'm going to be coming back here tomorrow at some stage to come and see, because I'm pretty sure this leopard is going to be hanging around for quite some time. But it has been absolutely fantastic, and really excites me. Now, Nick, you want to know how much weight I think a leopard could carry up a tree? Well, I think in excess of 100 kilograms, Nick, which, yeah, that's probably, what is that, 220 pounds? I would say in excess of that. I would say even past about 250 pounds. They are incredibly strong, and it's almost unbelievable how they can carry such a heavy weight up a tree like that. But with this male being one of the biggest leopards I've ever seen, the only one that I've seen bigger, that in Namibia, in the Otjiwarongo region, and that place is there. But this is a very impressive male, but not like what they are in the Sabi sands. They're not habituated at all to vehicles. So when they see people in vehicles, they do try to hide, they run away, they stay in the thickets. And as you can see here, even when they're in a tree, he still likes to be out of view. This morning we saw him out on a nice exposed branch, but as vehicles arrived, and we're about 50 meters away from this tree, as the vehicles arrived, he slowly just got a little bit more anxious and eventually jumped down out of the tree and disappeared off into the thick brush. So I think even from this distance, he's not that comfortable. And that's why he's hoisted that giraffe higher up into the brush, added to the fact that it would be higher and so further away from a hyena and lion. But I do feel that the primary reason he's done that is so that we can't actually see him straight there. So, everybody, I'd just like to say goodbye to some of the platforms, some of the viewers that are on different platforms. If you do want to continue watching, just Google Safari Live. But from here, we're going to say goodbye, and we're going to head you on back down south to South Africa. See you tomorrow, everyone.
It's just on the road right behind me. I ran it over a little bit because I was too busy looking at the tracks. Any ideas, anyone? Whose fresh poo this is? I will wait for your answers. It's a large animal. It's an animal that we miss seeing. It's one that we haven't seen in a long time. And if we do find it, it's going to be more interesting than a leopard. Well, at least for Djuma. So I'm going to let you guys think about that a little bit. And then the tracks are heading this way. If I show you the tracks, it'll give it away, so I'm not gonna show you the tracks. Let's go up this way and see if we can find any of these cheeky species to show you. They're very water dependent, and they are also very susceptible to tuberculosis, chest infections, bovine tuberculosis in particular. I'm giving clues. I'm heavy clues now, guys. And in the late 1800s, early 1900s, the species almost went completely, not extinct, but away from South Africa. There's only 100 of them left. Wendy, you got it! Yay! Buffalo, indeed. Well done, Wendy. That was buffalo poo. And then we have a buffalo tracks. Super exciting. So they're milling around there. We just came from this way, so I'm going to check in here, and there looks to be 6, 7, 8 individuals from what I could see there, maybe a little bit more. Maybe that's what made our lions move, although those tracks are far from our lions, but hey, nothing's impossible. And we have more. Look everybody, very fresh, and I haven't run it over. Well, I say very fresh, it might be from yesterday, but look, it's buffalo. It's buffalo on Djuma. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, around the turn of the century, last century, there was buffalo on the dam cam. That's amazing. What time was the buffalo on the dam cam? I'd like to know. And while you're all answering that, let's head on over to James while I have a look-see for these buffalo.
Yes, buffalo-ish, I suppose. We have here a wildebeest, not a buffalo, in fact. Now, if you are going to watch our television show, which I thoroughly encourage you to do so, on the... when is it for you guys? It's the 4th, of course, to the 9th. I am correct in that, aren't I? It was so confusing. Is it the 4th for us or the 4th for them? I think it's the fourth four. Come on, Nicola, help me out here. Nicola. Oh, never mind. Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out, of course, we've got our TV show coming up next week, starting your Sunday evening in the United States, Monday morning for us. The dates I can't get straight. 5 nights in a row. And one of the things you'll be asked to do, of course, here, and the same animals that are found in the Masai Mara, and you'll have to tell us which one comes from where. And this would be a good scene to observe. Now apparently it is the 4th. Now that is the 4th for you guys. Yes, of course it is, because that is when the superb owl takes place. The superb owl on the 4th, so 10 p.m. Nat Geo Wild Eastern Time. We go live for a week of TV specials, which we're quite excited about, I must say. We've never done a 5-day, 1-week series before. It's known in local parlance as a binge series. That there is a Nyala bull, magnificent creature, and I've just been taking illegal photographs of him on account of the fact that when the golden sunlight shines on a Nyala bull, there is very little more attractive in the bush. And in fact, if we were to compare him with his less fancied wildebeest cousin behind, we would be, well, if I was a wildebeest, I'd be feeling quite jealous right now. Lots of Nyala bulls here on the clearings at Chitwa. We've been at the dam. There are some hippopotami around there, but not much else going on there. And many of you very excited to see so many herbivores around in one place. I must confess I feel precisely the same. It really is rather exciting. There was an impala standing right atop that termite mound, obviously feeling quite frivolous on a Monday evening. I do so love to say that. Oh, was that a waterbuck? Yes, just been part of waterbuck. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering about mating season for the impala. Well, there's not a huge amount of respite for the impala ewes. They give birth, of course, in early December, and then they must quickly try and wean their youngsters at about 2 months of age only, and then they have a very brief respite. So come the end of February, going into March and April, the rams will start becoming infused with testosterone. They'll get aggressive with each other. They'll chase the females into their little postage stamp-sized territories, and then the mating will finally happen in the Kruger during the dark phase of the moon in May. So it's very specific. The dark phase of the moon in May, of course, a very good time for them to mate. Well, the reason it's so it's timed like that is so that they will, of course, give birth at the same time. And apparently the dark phase of the moon in May is when it is triggered. And this year, of course, we had quite early births. I seem to remember them coming halfway through November. And I think that was because the dark phase of the moon in May obviously happened a little bit earlier. Obviously entirely predictably. All of them looking out for the predators that might be coming, sort of wandering across the clearings, but at the moment looking very pleased by the peace with which they are enjoying the evening. Oh, now, Ellie Fantastic, yes, you've just, of course, told the secret to everybody that, yes, you can, in fact, just watch it here on YouTube, as you do normally, of course. And it won't cost you anything. So yes, you don't have to miss out, even if you are a normal YouTube watcher and you don't live in the United States, therefore you do not get Nat Geo Wild, the US version thereof, then you can still watch it on YouTube, as long as your internet connection is sufficiently good. My poor parents have never seen a television show on account of the fact that their internet connection is too poor. Poor them, you know, living down in coastal bliss. Sans fibre internet. Now, we are probably going to sit here for a little bit longer, but while we do that, I believe that Scott Dyson would like to give you an update on as to how his wandering about, searching aimlessly for Hosana's tracks is going.
Yes, we are still wandering about. We are getting closer to the treehouse waterhole. Miraculously, Herbie is managing to keep on the trail of this young male leopard. It's quite testing conditions. When it's cloudy and weather like this, it really does become very tricky to track, either cloudy or in the middle of the day. You basically need the sun to be at a low angle and cast some shadows on the ridges and rims of the track. But we are getting closer. We think he changed direction. Well, Herbie thinks he changed direction and chased something, judging by the tracks that we saw, and that's kind of thrown us off a little bit. So what we've decided to do is just kind of continue on in the general direction. The treehouse waterhole's very close to us here, and we're guessing that had he have failed with his hunts, he could well have ended up down there for a drink. So just checking very slowly along these pathways. I've been astounded by some of the tracks that Herbie's managed to find here. I'm finding it incredibly tricky conditions, but he just kind of parts the grass and points out the tracks as he goes along. It really is something that I think you could only get to understand fully in person, how incredible the skill of tracking is. It's something that's very, very difficult for us to express to you guys, the skill that some of these guys have. But take my word for it, they are seeing tracks in what looks like an absolutely blank canvas to the average eye. Nathan, you'd like to know if it's going to rain today. I hope so, but no one really knows. Even though I'm told the weather experts said that we're supposed to have rain for the whole of this week, but we've had none so far, so even the weathermen are finding it a little bit tricky to predict what the weather should be doing at the moment. Very good. We're going to keep snooping about. Hopefully we'll have some good news for you soon. But in the meantime, we're going to send you back off to Noel.
I'm also snooping about. We saw a big cloud of oxpeckers fly off from the drainage line here. So I'm just trying to get around onto the fire break and see if we can find them. And thank you to Rocky for sending through a photo of a big herd of buffalo that came to the waterhole in front of the Djuma Lodge at about 10:30. Rocky, after I find these buffalo, hopefully they've not crossed in the little gallery, I'm then going to track them backwards and see if we can find the Inkahumas eating one, because I have a feeling that's probably why they moved. A herd that size will make lots of noises. I'll see if I can do a buffalo noise for you. When they get down to the water like that. And they can be very noisy in a large herd. Now, I'm hoping that the numbers you're saying were large were more than about 50. Because that would be very good, and it's also easier to track. We saw the 5 or 6 members, and then we saw maybe 15 or 20 on the tracks, obviously, moving through this way. Now, for them to go from there to here is not an uncommon thing, especially because there's no water in the dam. There's just water in that little area that gets pumped. And also, if those lions did hear them, and if they did start hunting them, then it would have made them run. And that's why I am not surprised that they're down here. Oh, look, a bird of prey. Let's stop and have a look at it while we are searching for our buffalo. Beautiful. It looks like a juvenile bateleur sitting up there in the tree. Notice the feathers not coming all the way down. And juvenile, it's very brown. It hasn't come into its black and white. And no coloration yet on the beak there, but a very, very hooked beak. So bateleurs hunt for themselves, but they also scavenge. They're sometimes one of the first birds at a kill, at a carcass, and they help rip it open. Them and tawny eagles as well. Gorgeous. Thank you, Mr. Bateleur, but we're on the hunt for some buffalo. I think we're going to carry on. And the bateleur being one of my favorite birds of prey. Come on, Wendy. Sorry. Yay, Wendy! Sinak, you want to know if, like quilias, so red-billed quilias sometimes form these huge flocks that move and they go through the air. It looks like a giant school of fish and they make a noise. The only other birds that I've seen in flocks, not as big as quilias, I mean physically here, would be sociable weavers. Tend to be in a group, and I've seen starlings in a big group, but in the UK they get the murmurations of starlings that also do those big, huge movements through the sky. But no, our quilias are the big flocking birds. I've never seen anything else flock as large as that. That being said, though, Sinak, up in the sky, migrating towards the south of South Africa, where I used to work in the Northwest Province, we used to get huge flocks of flamingos that would be flying across. So they were up really high, and one or two would land in some of the water holes. But yeah, that would be close, but still not the same. Quilias are very special. When I was visiting in Mozambique in October of last year, they had more rain than we had here in that specific area, and there was just red-billed quilias nests everywhere, and it's only the second time in my career I've ever seen quilias nests like that. It was incredible. No quilias at them, but it was really, really, really magic, just all throughout the trees. Like as you're driving along now, they would have just been covering the trees here. Very cool. Okay, Buffalo, where are you? Are you maybe... There's lots of vultures here. My spidey senses are tingling. Ooh. AB, good question. You want to know if buffalo dung can be used for various things like elephant dung. I haven't heard of buffalo dung being used for anything medicinally like elephant dung. Elephant dung is used to help treat migraines, amongst other things. But buffalo dung is very good for making your grass grow and for starting gardens, vegetable gardens in particular. It's also very good for fires, for if you want to keep your fire going at night. Cow dung can be used in the same way, and cow dung can also be used for fertilization processes as well. Cows and buffalo are very similar that way. I have buffalo tracks again. Haha. Okay, so you came through here and then went this way. I have a sneaky suspicion they've gone into Little Gowrie. Boo. Let's go to Mr. Hendry, who's over on Chitwa. Maybe he's found my buffalo. Yo, they were...
I'm not on Chitwa anymore. I didn't find any more luck, so I've left there. I thought that those buffalo had crossed out of our reserve, but I may be wrong. We'll pop up Cheetah Cut Line, which is our eastern boundary. There's an elephant, can you believe it? Oh, now Nathan, you do ask a very difficult question. You say, how many buffalo live in all of Africa? Nathan, that's very difficult to answer. I can tell you that in the Kruger National Park, I think there are around about, at the last count, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 of them. They're not endangered, so I'd say around Africa you'd probably find at least sort of, maybe 500,000 even. 500,000 of them or so. But that is a real guess. I wouldn't know for sure. I might be able to tell you. Let me just check while you enjoy this elephant. Let me just check in my reference book here and see if I don't have the answer for you, Nathan. This elephant doing exactly the same as the one we found earlier, which unfortunately we were unable to broadcast successfully on account of the bad signal. He is eating marulas. Right, I will just quickly flick through this thing here and we'll see if we can't get an answer of how many there are. No, I can't see much on how many there are, so you're going to have to go with my guess there. Oh no, hang on, here we go. I was right. In the most recent and available census data at continental scale, the total estimated numbers of the 3 buffalo savanna subspecies, are 513,000 individuals. What a great guess. I'm going to pat myself heartily on the back. You'll hear it. That's me patting myself on the back. I was very lucky there. So 513 odd thousand beefies knocking about in Africa. Not quite so many elephants, unfortunately. So we have to appreciate and look after our elephants much more carefully than we do any of the other animals, than we do most of the other animals, and that's of course because they're in high demand for their tusks, which people still think it's nice to make furniture and ornaments out of. Those people, of course, are either very stupid, very uneducated, or particularly insensitive. And it's funny, you know, my mum she's not a buyer of ivory, but let me just move a little bit forward so we get a better view of this elephant. But I mean, the other day I was at home and I picked up this ornament that I'd seen 150,000 times before, and I realized it was ivory, and it had come from her grandmother, so I mean from the 19th century. And I didn't know if it was appropriate for us to keep, and I think my mum has since turfed it. So I know there is a lot of ivory around, but I guess we should maybe get rid of it. I don't know. I'd like to hear your feedback on that, in fact. I'm sure many of you have got ivory heirlooms that have been passed down through the generations. Do you keep them, or do you, in sort of solidarity with the efforts of elephant anti-poaching, do you get rid of them? I don't know. I'm just trying to quickly check now how many elephants there are left. Nicola, I don't know the answer to that question. It's a personal, moral question, I suppose. Nikki says she'd like to keep them, but how do you know that people aren't actually renewing them, making more? Right, I'm just quickly reading here. Keep looking at the elephant. Yeah, I don't have an exact number for how many elephants there are. I think it's around 200,000. I really should have that information at the tip of my fingers. You're right, Project Alpha, I see that now. There are about 500,000, just over 500,000 elephants. I've just found the information now. Just over 500,000 elephants, and although they are not endangered, they're classified as vulnerable. Their numbers are decreasing at such a rate that people are seriously worried that they could become endangered. So basically, when you talk about the conservation status of an animal, you have extinct, which of course is not longer around. You have extinct in the wild, so only in captivity. Then you have critically endangered, endangered and vulnerable. And so vulnerable is one step away from endangered, which is quite something. And I know 500,000 sounds like a lot, but when you consider the number of human beings in the world, it really is nothing. You know, 7 billion odd human beings. It's almost 7 billion is a number too big for us to conceive of when you think about it. And to put it in context, let's just work it out. You know, let's say that there were 700,000 elephants around. Okay, if you multiply that by 10, you get 7 million. If you multiply it by 10 again, you get 700 million. And if you multiply it by 10 again, you get 7 billion odd. That means that there are 0.0001% the number of elephants as there are human beings, which I think is very sad. We have some answers to my question. Jojo, you say up to the individual. Well, that's interesting from Penny. What a nice kind of answer from Penny, and this is kind of where I lean, although I do agree with Jojo, it's entirely up to the individual. But Penny, you said you did a ceremonial burning. I think that's quite nice because it's kind of appreciating that they were heirlooms, that they have sentimental value, and having some kind of appreciative ceremony for them, and then saying, well, you know, times have moved on, and, you know, good, almost like a goodbye. I think that's quite a nice way of dealing with it, actually. Well done, Penny. It's not easy, especially if you're, you know, if you're overly sentimental and nostalgic like me. You find it very difficult to get rid of these sorts of things that are attached to people you loved and still love in their absence. Gosh, a philosophical subject that, really, for a Monday afternoon. As I was just saying earlier, that Monday afternoons, of course, I love to say I'm at work on a Monday afternoon when I'm sitting with an animal like this, rather than in the traffic. Now, Noel van Meiden, who has been really quite, what do I want to say, doggedly looking for these buffalo, despite indications that they could easily have gone across the boundary, well, her dogged determination has paid dividends.
They are not in Little Gowrie. They are also not in Torchwood. They are officially on Djuma. We have the huge herd of buffalo. I am so excited, everyone, right now. And also my cameraman, my special guest cameraman, Gert, he, in his non-cameraman time, works with buffalo and buffalo farming and buffalo conservation. And so we've been seeing some really beautiful bulls, male buffaloes. And we've actually been sitting here taking photos while James has been telling you about, or talking to you about ivory and buffalo numbers and elephant numbers. And I'm just so excited that it's not one or two, but it is indeed, Rocky, you said you counted 200 buffalo, and this is a big herd, and we're at the front of the herd. So I'm not going to leave anytime soon, but when we do leave, I'm then going to track them backwards, because if those lions heard them, and I'm pretty sure they would have heard 200 buffalo, they would have taken something down from the rear. No pun intended there, as lions do take things down from the rear. But, I mean, the rear of the herd. Now, buffalo herds are very interesting in their structure. They work in a sort of diamond formation. They are not a matriarchal society, but the one that's at front is a female and is a pathfinder. And they follow her. She knows where the good food and water is. And then it'll be her and her young of varying different ages. And then other females and their young of varying different ages. And then on the sides of the diamond, you get the young virile bulls. And then at the back, you get the old, the weak, and the sick. And the old, the weak, and the sick tend to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the herd. Buffaloes are absolutely, truly incredible. One of my favorite recordings I've ever seen has not been done by a professional. It was done by a guest inside the Kruger Park. It is famous. YouTube made it famous. Battle at Kruger. Who has no tail? Oh my goodness, no tail. There we go. Oh, shame, little nubby tail. Possibly from too many ticks. That's what I would say. And then it sort of, I guess you would say, rots off. But anyway, so battle at Kruger, where these guests were sitting at one of the dams, I think it was actually Tractor Dam, with their guide. And there was lions, and the lions chased the buffalo, and they caught a baby buffalo, and then they fell into the water, and then the crocodile tried to grab the baby buffalo. No, don't go to Torchwood! Oh, okay, we have some escapees. They're immigrating over to Torchwood, but that's okay. We still have more buffalo. And then anyway, so the crocodile grabbed the baby buffalo, and then the lions grabbed it back from the crocodile, and then in the meantime, the buffalo had regrouped, and then they chased the lions off, and one of them even hooked one of the lions and sort of threw them in the dam. It's incredible footage. All right, we've got some buffalo noises, and it is a little bit windy, but I'm going to go a bit quiet and see if we can hear the buffalo noises. So I believe we can hear them walking about. There was a few of them making their noises. It's a very bad buffalo impersonation. And as they start coming across the road more, we're going to start hearing it more and more. And when they get closer, if I can hear it, I'll go quiet again so you all can hear it. Oh, there was a little one there. That is a beautiful male. Gorgeous. Everyone, we've had the big 5 today. No, we didn't get Rhino and Mara. We've had the big 4. Tristan, you're saying turn them back into Djuma. Yeah, if I was an unethical guide, I might think about it, or actually physically do it, but I can't, sadly. Also because we don't have enough water for them. There's more water in other places, and they need water. They need water every day. It's so beautiful, everyone. Wendy, I would completely agree with you. Wendy's saying, although we can hear them walking, they're very quiet for such a large herd of animals. Wendy, that has to do with the fact that they've already had water today. When they start going towards water, you think about elephants, Wendy, when we watch them running down towards the water, they get so excited. Buffalo also get very excited to get to water, and that's when you hear them being very noisy. Now, as it's starting to go into nighttime and they've already had a drink and they're moving away, they're not going to be as noisy because the things that hunt them start moving around now. So it would not be the best idea to be too noisy. However, that being said, when I worked in the Okavango Delta, and also when I was working up in Zambia, and also when I was working in the Kruger National Park, you would hear herds of buffalo at night, especially when it was full moon, like it's going to be, it's not full moon tonight, but it's going to be very bright tonight, and you'd hear them coming down to the water in the evening and making noises. There's an old male staring at us just in front here. He doesn't have the largest horns, but he's got a very large body. He was staring at us for the past couple of minutes. Buffalo always look at you. Oh, and then there's a really nice young bull there. You see just to the left. Gorgeous. Buffaloes always stare at you like you owe them money. Bree, you're saying that buffalo was saying to us, I know what you did last summer. Yeah, that's the buffalo stare right there. So when we go over to Scott next, you must ask Scott what his least favorite animal to walk on foot is, and you must also ask Herbie. I know the answers to Herbie. Oh, look where her horn's broken off here. You see there, guys? So sometimes when they fight, they break their horns off, and sometimes they break it off really close. Can you see the blood coming out there? It's like if you rip your fingernail off too much. It's very painful. And I know Herbie's answer to this, but I'd be interested in Scott's answer. I will gladly walk lion, leopard, elephant, rhino, black rhino, white rhino, doesn't matter, any day of the week. Buffalo herds like this, also any day of the week. These old buffalo bulls, a lot of these bulls that we're showing to you, when they break away from the herd, when they get too old, they are my least favorite thing to find on foot. I've been chased up way too many trees and had some close calls with them. Judy and Nathan, you're curious to know if buffalo eat just grass or anything else as well. Oh, there's a tiny little baby at the back, brand new. Like today, brand new. Look at it. Oh, it's going to come out just now. I'm so excited. There. There we go. It's walking through. Oh, please come out again. It'll come out, I promise. Buffalo in general are grazers, are bulk grazers. They've got big mouths with heads that are set down low, very similar to a wildebeest. Let's see if we can see this baby. It should be coming out soon if it's not hidden by the herd. It's teeny tiny. And but I have seen them, especially in our drought last year. I saw them eating leaves, particularly gory leaves, which have a lot of tannins in them. And a lot of the buffalo on the property I was working at got tannin poisoning. I just want to move forward to see if we can see that teeny tiny baby. Come on, Wendy, don't die on me now. Lady Starfire, very interesting question. You want to know what the average ratio of male to female? I couldn't tell you that. I will tell you that it's probably about 60 to 70%, if not more, female, and the rest male. I couldn't give you any definitive numbers. I personally haven't heard any definitive. Oh, there it is. Any definitive numbers on that? And also, herd sizes vary so much from place to place and from season to season. So one of the reasons why we're seeing such a large herd right now. Look at that tiny brand new baby. Look, you can still see the umbilical cord, the placenta coming out. Brand new, brand new. Very cool. And that's a beautiful female buffalo as well. Look, 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 there it is. So that baby is probably about an hour old, I would say. Oh, we got some uber cuteness with buffalo. I know you all love uber cuteness. So Lady Starfire, I've seen herds of 6. I've seen herds of over 1,000. I've seen a big herd like this when we're now looking at sort of the 200. And that makeup is going to be different for everything. I saw a herd a little while ago on another property that was about 80 to 100 in number and had a huge amount of males. And I think it had to do with the dryness of that area at that time, and they were just sort of collecting together. Oh, I'm really chuffed about that little baby. Now, there's quite a pretty shot with the buffalo and the moon. I don't know if we're... there we go, the almost full moon. Buffalo moving across the torchwood and the full moon, and there's the mama with her brand new, spanking brand new baby buffalo calf. We are going to carry on and see if we can track these buffalo backwards and find those lions, and while we do so, let's head on over to Scotty D, who's still walking around. Maybe he has his sauna. We don't know.
No joy with Hosanna, and we've had to call it a day with this track, so we need to start making it our way back to camp. But the good news is that Herbie knows quite a few spots that Hosanna likes to hang out in this general area, and that's where hugely helpful. So one of the spots he suggested we checked was Old Hyena Den, which was just off to our left. No sign of him here, and I guess time will tell where Herbie's next lucky spot may be. Sounds like really cute sighting of that little baby buffalo, and so nice that there are some buffalo moving back into this area. I haven't seen one on Djuma for the entire time that I've been here. That's approaching about 2 months, which is unheard of really, in terms of my experience in the Sabi Sands. Not so much the big herds, we didn't always have those, but at least a few big old resident boys would always be lurking about. Definitely does make our life easier on foot. I know Noel mentioned what would be my last animal that I'd like to come across, and it's probably a big old buffalo bull, followed closely by a mother elephant with her babies. So, it's been so much fun though, and such a great tracking exercise. Again, I just can't stress what a ninja Herbie is when it comes to following these tracks, and learning so much from him every day that I get to spend with him. So, having a good time with him and lots of chuckles in between. He's a man that loves to laugh, so good guy to have on board the bushwalk team. And I think as of tomorrow we could well be doing 2 bushwalks, but how many of you will be able to watch that? I'm not too clued up with the finer details. I just do what I'm told. so you guys won't be joining in, unfortunately. We'll be practicing, getting ready for the TV shows, which is actually quite a lot different to, as I'm sure a lot of you know, if any of you are new, it's quite a lot different experience to these internet broadcasts. So we certainly do have a lot to polish up on and get used to in the coming days before the next TV shows. So I often relate walking in the bush and the safety thereof to crossing streets in a city. So I must look left and look right for any traffic, and now I can cross. Not that we usually need to do that, but it is a good example of, you know, how if you do the basics and you know what to do, you don't need to worry too much about safety and concern. However, even in your own kind of back streets, if you walk around blindfolded and don't take the necessary precautions, it could become all of a sudden very dangerous. Theodore, you would like to know if there are parts of the Greater Kruger National Park where you can drive a private vehicle, and yes, the majority of the Greater Kruger National Park can be accessed by anybody. You just need to pay the fees at the gates. Herbie's heard something, so we'll just let him focus. It sounds like it could be some Franklin alarm calling. I've got one of my ears plugged with an earpiece, which doesn't help, and the other half of my hearing isn't the best. So what you can do, though, to try and increase your ability to hear is to cup your hands behind your ears, making the satellites bigger, pointing the cups in the direction of the noise, and it really does work very well. We'll just give Herbie a little bit of a head start so he can sneak ahead of us, and we'll just kind of follow from a distance rather than distracting him. But yes, Theodore, basically you can drive private cars with absolutely no experience through the majority of the Kruger National Park, so if it's something you're interested in doing, you should make a plan, because it's an epic place to go and explore. Very good. We're going to try and do an investigation here to see what's going on. Who knows? Tundi may have come back into this area. She was seen here this morning with Tristan and may well be coming back after she caught wind of some lions in the direction she moved off in. So maybe we'll get lucky. We'll keep you posted and send you back to Noel in the meantime.
We have a bum shot of a very pregnant buffalo cow for you. Heavily pregnant. She'll probably pop in the next week or so, I would guesstimate. I'm so chuffed we have buffalo for everybody. They're not officially on Djuma anymore. They're now officially in Torchwood, but it's still a pretty shot. It's still a pretty picture. Kristen, good question. You want to know if there's a large abundance of oxpeckers with them. There are quite a few oxpeckers with them. It is starting to get darker, so that a lot of the oxpeckers have left and started to go roost in trees. We also had that big cloud of them fly off. Look at that one scratching its bum. I'm sorry. So elephants make me laugh really hard, and buffalo, when they do this, make me laugh really hard. Yes, I am exactly like a 12-year-old boy. It's okay. Places they can't get they can't get to themselves, and they're very dexterous with those trees. So yeah, we had that big cloud of oxpeckers that flew off, and there's a few oxpeckers still tagging along, and then soon they're all going to go up and roost, and then tomorrow morning when the sun comes up, they'll find there's an oxpecker there. They'll find this herd again, or possibly other herd species around, and hop on and go have a meal. First Lady, you want to know how much they drink per day? A cow, on average, if I remember correctly, does about 60 liters a day, or 60 liters at a time. And the buffalo would be around about that. What do you think? How many liters of water does a buffalo drink? Our buffalo extraordinaire here at the back a day? I would say about 60 liters, give or take. Yeah. All right, we're saying about 60 liters. Hertz also, even with his vast experience, he's kind of going, not quite sure, because, you know, it's not as easy to tell as with something like an elephant, because we know how much they can fit up their trunk. But yeah, I'm going to go with 60 liters. That buffalo's back on his tree. He's so happy right now. Jared, you're saying that poor tree. Yeah, yeah, that poor tree indeed. Oh, sorry, it's a female that's scratching now. It's a different buffalo. And they get a lot of ticks that are down there around that area of their body. And when they are having trouble with finding food or water, then obviously their health goes down a bit, and then they'll get a higher tick load, and then it really starts to itch, and so that's one of the reasons why they're giving it all a scratch there. This male over to our 3 o'clock has moved away from the herd a little bit and is busy keeping us between him and the herd, and I can't decide if he's doing it just because he's obstinate. Oh, I get to use my favorite collective noun, everyone. This is an obstinacy of buffalo. It is the best collective noun, an obstinacy of buffalo, and they are extremely obstinate. Doodles, you're saying you don't get to watch us as often anymore, which makes me sad, but I do hope in the future you can start watching us a bit more like you used to. And you're saying it feels like forever since we've seen buffalo. Doodles, you're totally correct. I think the last buffalo I can remember us seeing, he's beautiful, it was a few buffalo bulls, but it was on Chitwa. And then there was a big herd Tristan got in the morning and I had in the afternoon. I think it was before TV show, and that was in early December. So yeah, it's been a very, very, very long time. Now, some of them are starting to lie down. Remember, it is getting a little bit dark, and they might just rest here and ruminate for the night. They have a tendency to do that. They don't always stay still for the night, but they do have a tendency to sort of bed down. And I see more in the back are starting to lie down. So we might get lucky and get them tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. Oh, but we've got rehearsal tomorrow. Maybe we'll also get them tomorrow afternoon. You never know. All right. James Hendry is driving about. Let's go and see him, and I'm going to work on tracking these buffalo backwards and finding lions. Cross fingers, hold thumbs that they've made a kill.
Well, you'll do well, Noel, but if anyone can do it, you can, because you found the buffalo, of course, today. The Nkahuma Pride and some others were found on Biffle's Hook earlier on, but of course the Nkahuma Pride is largely split, not permanently, just of late. And I think Noel is probably quite correct. There's a grey-headed bush shrike, which we very seldom get in this bush. There it goes. Don't worry, it's had 4 birthdays. There it's top. Have you got it there? It's in that tree there. Well done. It's calling. I did see some movement. There you are. That's it, well spotted. Isn't that beautiful? What a gorgeous bird that is. Keep going up. And you can hear it going, maybe. Plaintive call. There it is. Well spotted. Oh, isn't he gorgeous? Now, he's not a very nice bird because basically he will eat anything that he can catch. Anything smaller than him. Birds, chameleons, other reptiles, small mammals, nestlings. He's a voracious carnivore, is the grey-headed bush shrike. He's right above us. He's just there. I say just there. He's sort of top leftish of that marula tree. There he goes, he's now gone. Have you got him? Should we let him go? There's the moon. Good grief, well spotted, Fergus. The sky, although it's been not great from a light point of view, has produced some spectacular cloud display and glorious subtle blue and slightly pinkish colours. You've seen my man, have you? Good, well done. Fergus has seen my man. Oh, well done. Look what he's caught. He's catched himself a grasshopper. Well done. Now, not a lot of meat on a grasshopper. Now look at him doing that typical shrike thing. You see, he's not quite storing it, but what he's doing is, I wonder if he wouldn't store it there. Remember, many of the shrike species, or some of the shrike species, will store their food. They'll keep pantries. The most famous being the fiscal shrike, which will hang its prey on thorns and come back later to get it. Almost like he wants to put it in the crack there. There are a few of them calling around the place. Now, all of this activity is designed to get rid of bits that are inedible, so to break up the chitin, which makes up the exoskeleton, and then get rid of the wings. I suspect the wings are inedible. He's still there. Isn't that amazing? Oh, look, there's a starfish next to him, Fergus. Oh. Nice to see a starfish now and again. Echinoderms are fairly rare in this part of the world. I'm joking, everybody, that isn't really a starfish. Many of you are saying ew. Some of you are saying beautiful. I think it's just beautiful, really. I've eaten a grasshopper before. I was offered one by someone I used to work with. And of course the local people out here will make use, especially in this protein-poor environment, of just about any form of edible protein. And what you can do with one of these things is, I don't know if this is a particular species that people used to eat, but they pull the wings off, pull the head off, pop them in a jar, collect them like that, and then fry them up. And I suppose, as with most deep-fried food, it tastes basically like the oil you cook it in and whatever flavouring you put on it. It's a bit like calamari. Oh, it's disappeared. Delicious. You know, calamari tends to taste vaguely of fish, texture of rubber, and then flavoured pretty much like whatever you put on it. And the same goes for mapani worms, which are the caterpillars of the emperor moth I showed you earlier, and of course the grasshoppers that people eat out here. The only exception, I think, is termites, which taste of peanuts. Oh, he liked that, didn't he? He thought peanuts, that would be delicious. Sheila, you want to know how you spell this bird? Sheila, you spell it T-H-I-S-B-I-R-D. I'm sorry, that's very rude of me, Sheila. No, it's a grey-headed bush shrike. So grey, G-R-E-Y. Now I can't spell for love nor money, but I'll try. Grey-headed, dash-headed, H-E-A-D-E-D, bush, B-U-S-H, and then shrike, S-H-R-I-K-E. So grey, G-R-E-Y, dash H-E-A-D-E-D, B-U-S-H, S-H-R-I-K-E. There we go. Grey-headed bush shrike. This bird is much easier to spell. T-H-I-S-B-I-R-D. Good. Let us continue. First Lady, thank you, Fergus. Fergus was just giving me a little drum roll there in case you hadn't noticed. First Lady, you say that bird is so gorgeous that it almost inspired you to start a bird list. Well, I'm very pleased. You know, I'll let you in on a secret, First Lady. You and I have something in common. I don't keep a bird list either. That's not to say that I cast aspersions on people who do keep bird lists. I think it's really nice. Let's pop down this way here. Now a lovely question from somebody called Spork in the Road. That's S-P-O-R-K in the road. Spork. Spork. I better stay on the road here. Spork, you want to know why there's a dawn chorus and not a dusk chorus? There is a dusk chorus. It's not as loud as the dawn chorus, but on a sunny evening you won't get it as much as you do now. On a sort of cloudy evening like this with grey banks of cloud moving over. but absolutely it does happen at dusk. It's just not as loud as it is in the morning. Now, why isn't it as loud as it would be in the morning? I suppose it's because it's probably much more territorial and much less about breeding. So often the dawn chorus, of course, it's a good time to get your song out there because you've got to re-establish territory after the night. The day is going to go forward, so there's going to be some foraging, which means that there will be mating opportunities, and it would be pointless to make a mating call, for example, in the dusk, because it's going to be difficult to find a mate in the dark if you're a bird that isn't active during the day. So this is all off the top of my head. I think that's probably got quite a lot to do with it. Fergus makes a very good point. He says, is there a dawn chorus for the nocturnal birds? There is. Fewer nocturnal birds, of course, than there are diurnal ones. And so perhaps that is a very good answer as to why it's a bit quieter. Well, while we ponder these things, there's the Steenbok's bottom. And while you consider the Steenbok's bottom and his chewing jaws, we're going to head across to either Scott or Noel. I failed to hear which. That's really cool.
Hello everyone. We are here sitting with some wildebeest. It's a bachelor herd, and they're snorting at us and we're snorting back at them to see if we can try and better understand how wildebeest communicate. I'm only kidding. We don't have a clue what they're saying. But it is quite interesting how they do stand their ground and not too concerned about us. A whole load of impala in the background, and it's not only the wildebeest but also the impala that are going to seek refuge in this massive open clearing this evening. It's a lovely spot for them to relax, and even though the Inkuhuma Pride were in these clearings last night, it's going to be a very, very tricky spot for them to actually catch any prey, because it is so open, and with the bright moon at the moment, it's going to make the predators' lives a little bit difficult. Even last night it was completely overcast, but the moon was still pushing through quite a lot of light through the clouds, and when we were sitting with the Inkuhuma Pride, they were lying up just ahead of where we are now. We could even switch off all the vehicle lights and see them with relative ease, and that's just with our fairly basic eyesight. So you can imagine the prey animals would be doing a much better job at being able to detect their prey. Wonder where the Inkuhumas are going to go tonight and where those missing 3 lionesses are. It would be wonderful to see them reunite, as and when they do. And I haven't seen the whole pride together just yet, and it's awesome how much bigger that pride has got over the last year and a half or so that I've been away. They could very well turn into a mega pride as soon as this batch of 5 female sub-adults come into season, plus the other 5 adults that are already there. You can imagine how quickly that pride could grow. What a beautiful evening. It's been a great, great afternoon out on foot, and the weather's definitely helped us because it's been nice and cool. Checking if my radio is all working. I didn't hear that we were live a little bit earlier, so I'm not too sure what the issue was there. Bye-bye, wildebeest. Be safe. Might bump into an elephant bull that was cruising from marula tree to marula tree, shaking them as he went to get as many of those delicious fruits as he could. And I'm looking forward to the coming weeks. It's only going to get better with regards to elephant viewing and them running from marula tree to marula tree. Very good. It's probably goodbye for me for now and for the rest of the show, but we're going to send you across to James to see what he's getting up to.
Well, he's on his way home as well. Now, it remains for me to say to you all that, remember, there is no show tomorrow morning. We are in rehearsals for TV, and so the next time we'll see you will be tomorrow afternoon. There will be no Mara because they are out all night tonight, and so they'll be having the afternoon off tomorrow. So it'll just be Djuma tomorrow afternoon. And then also to remind you to please play Safari Bingo. You go to natgeo.com/Safari Live, and there you can learn how it is that you will be able to win a trip for two, a safari trip for two to Kenya or South Africa with National Geographic Journeys. So that's natgeo.com/Safari Live, and learn how to play bingo. Unfortunately, it is only open to residents of the United States of America, but the website will explain all of that. Oh, Karen and Ellie, fantastic. You ask a very valid question. Where are all my toys today? You mean the drone, the microscope, and Ron the rover. You may notice that I'm not in Jigger today. That's the other one of the other three cars. This is Rusty. Tristan very kindly lent her to me, and that is because Jigger is currently having a box attached to her backside so that she can carry the drone, Marvin, in a slightly more comfortable position. And Conrad, our completely tireless man who works in the technical department, asked if he could have Jigger for the afternoon, and I said to him, "My man, she is all yours." And he said, "Thank you very much." And that's where Jigger is. Right, I'll pick up onto quarantine. We might get a last view of Scott's tremendous godlike physique walking into the distance, next to that, of course, of David. No, nothing of that sort, but we do have some wildebeest over there, as I bid you all a fond adieu. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions, your comments, your stimulating conversation today. Thank you very much for that. We will see you tomorrow afternoon again at 4 o'clock Central African time. Until then, goodbye and stay happy wherever you are on planet Earth.